Welcome to another episode of ohmTown. Today is just going to be another general news day, And if you end up in my chat in another day, if you're watching a VOD, or if you are in my chat now, feel free to throw questions or comments or anything at me. Today is February 2nd, 2022. So 22. And we are hustling through 2022 at breakneck speed, it seems, at least from my perspective and based on the study of time and time travel. It is different for everybody. Relative, you might say. So like with all the other VODs that I've done, every episode I kind of introduce anyone who might stumble across this to how this works and why it is the way it is. So brief introduction. Again, I'm Mayor Watt. I'm the mayor of ohmTown. I put together that site right there. Hey, I did it again. I'm getting used to this. And ohmTown is a news aggregation site along with groups that focus on a particular topic or domain. So sometimes there are groups that are general news, and then there are some that are highly focused. So in that vein, I'll go through this really quick. Every time you click on the logo for ohmTown, which is that right there, top left corner. You can't see my cursor. I don't show my cursor. Anyway, whenever you click on ohmTown, it'll refresh. And sometimes it seems to take a little bit longer. I'm going to have to talk to the host about this. But anyway, you will probably get a new set of headlines, and these headlines are aggregated from across the internet, around the world, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, unless there's a glitch somewhere in the matrix and causes it to break. But I'm trying to take care of all of those things, and I know I have one problem that can't seem to be fixed. Two, if you count the fact that I can't seem to get Twitch to directly connect to my site. There's some glitch in here that I just can't fix. But anyway, so ohmTown is or was my personal site. It was designed for me to be able to gather news from various places and collate it into categories, and then within those categories, segments. So if you look at create, news, education, entertainment, social, and technology, you'll see a bunch of categories underneath it. Each one of these is a group that has discussion boards. You can click on a link, let's say band to bezel, which is about watches. You will have news and copious amounts of it from various sources. I do not capture the entirety of an article. It's not in my motivation to take from somebody. It's more about highlighting the particular source here in the stream. So if you are interested in news, then you can sign up to become a citizen of ohmTown, and you'll get a little bit of news from each of these categories and all of the little subgroups within it. Today I've got a selection of a bunch of articles, actually more than usual, probably about 20 or so. Usually it's 15 to 18, but here I'm at 20, maybe 22, I think. I don't quite remember the exact number, but at any rate, this recording will last for about 14 days on Twitch, at least until I become partner or something like that later on. So tell a friend, have them come over and follow me and help make this a mainstay, because I would like to do this more often. That said, can't really do it. I work full time still, but let's get on with the show. This first article I thought was really interesting because I've heard of this before, but not about Taylor Swift. So at New York University's Clive Davis Institute, there is a a course on Taylor Swift. That's not something you hear about every day, and it's taught by Rolling Stone's Brittany Spanos. So if you click the link, there you go. This is written by Jem Aswad. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong, either in Twitch chat, which is always open for me. It's on my desktop 24 hours a day, just like the site is. And you can actually send me messages via that, and I will see them. It's there in perpetuity. So as long as something doesn't happen to my computer, I'll see your message and we'll reply. At any rate, it launched on January 26th and continues through March 9th and goes into Taylor Swift's creative music, entrepreneurship, legacy of pop and country writers, songwriters, discourses of youth and girlhood, and the politics of race in contemporary popular music, according to a rep for the program. And that it has a long wait list. Well, I mean, Swift is very popular. So is the school. So is the institute. I've seen other things like this before. I think it's really fascinating. You'll get your cultural competence class as long as the politics of race and contemporary popular music is included in this in a substantive way. And you'll be able to learn some music theory and entrepreneurship. So I think it's a win-win, regardless of what you might think is, well, it's so focused on Taylor Swift. Well, that actually just gives it greater context to those who might be interested in not just Taylor Swift, but in music, in society, and then leveraging this for business and using technology. It basically hits on every cylinder that I'm interested in. So if I were a student, I would probably end up taking a course like this. So go and check it out. It's over on Variety, variety.com. I'm sure it's on their front page right now. This next article is in the Stock Marketeers group, and it's aggregated from marketwatch.com. If you see me look down, it's because my camera is up there and my monitor is down there. And I know it seems weird. I'm working on it. Anyway, need to know, a few more stock pullbacks and then a big one are coming, warns this manager. Here's how investors should prepare. And this is a MarketWatch article. I'll click this link. It's written by Barbara Kohlmeyer. Critical information for U.S. trading day. So, a recent string of wins for stock markets, the best percentage gains since 2020 for major indexes. Well, I mean, people are trying to hedge against increasing interest rates. You gotta manage your risk. So I'm sure that indexes are going to be changing. We'll just say changing. S&P was tanking for a while. Some of the stocks that I've been watching have been increasing in value, while I've been told that the markets are declining. There are a lot of people that have different perspectives and different niche areas that they are focusing on. We're going to, and one of the quotes in here is, we're going to have to get very used to at least 5% pullbacks in the market. And at some point in the year, we're probably going to get a full-blown correction, because that's just how markets work. And yeah, this is such a generic statement. It's hard to treat it as guidance, but maybe somewhere deeper in this. And again, I don't read the entire article while I'm on the air. I'll read it afterward. And if there's something substantive to comment on, I will make a comment tomorrow. Otherwise, I'll just progress as I normally would with this, which is I draw attention to the headlines. I want you to go and read it at MarketWatch and then come back and school me in chat. And if you're interested, I can throw you up there, and you can come onto the channel and show me what you know. Because I am not the smartest man in the room. I never will admit to it. Even when I'm alone here in my office, I'm not the smartest man in the room. That said, I'll argue with you about a perspective and maybe even be devil's advocate from a different perspective than the one that you might have. But not argue just to argue. Sometimes you're just damn right, and nobody can argue with you. But it's still good to see and hear a perspective from someone else. So you can always go and check this out over on MarketWatch. There will always be corrections. They happen frequently throughout the year. If you're a day trader, then you basically need to make the amount of money that you set for the day. And if you're, depending on your level of risk, you either make your thousands and then stop for the day, knowing that you've made your thousands and you've got enough runway to deal with anything that negative happens in the following day or days. Or you push your luck and you do a correction by missing a trade. Anyway, let's move on with this show. The Band of Bezel is another show that I'm looking for a co-host to sit and discuss for an hour a week about watches and the technology involved in the industry and where it might be going and where it came from. Basically, the entire people, places, and things within the watch world, accessories, and people who are manufacturing them, designing them. There's amazing technology, and the diversity involved in watches is fascinating for such a seemingly simple little thing, right? The only watch that I wear with regularity is an Apple Watch, and that's because the smart features of it just jive with my my world. But I like hyping up the tech. I love talking about the designs, the aesthetics. And here's a neat one. Again, I haven't looked at this beyond a cursory title review. And once you get in here and you look at this stuff, you go, oh, wow, that's really neat. Simple aesthetic, doesn't really stand out in a ostentatious way. Yeah, the whole thing looks neat. It is a $12,300 watch, or $19,400 watch. It says VC has expanded its steel-based offerings, and where the mechanical models in the overseas line start at $19,400 for the 37 millimeter, the 56 self-winding in steel and a leather strap sports a list price of $12,300. Yeah, my watches tend to be the 40 millimeter. So pretty neat. I'm not shelling out $12,000 for a watch. I can appreciate the aesthetic from a distance. I won't even spend $1,000 on a watch, but I can appreciate the beauty in a mechanical watch, or in a watch, smartwatch or otherwise. And these are self-winding. So this little piece right here, this gold piece, it actually spins around and winds the watch, and it's really fascinating. It basically is a gear, and it's a one-way gear. So regardless of which way it spins, it's actually turning a wheel that tightens the spring or adds energy to the spring and keeps the watch running just by walking. It swings back and forth and still cranks that wheel. It's really neat technology and simple in concept, but once you start tearing apart a watch, you see just how amazing the tech is. Well, I won't go through the entire article, and sorry for the fast scroll, but this is from Hodinkee, and it's by James Stacy, and it was published today. So go check it out. Over on Distillerist, my engine aggregated from thespiritsbusiness.com. I'll click the link. Wow. The Tequila and Mezcal Masters 2022 results. This is by Melita Keeley. If you are if you appreciate tequila and or mezcal, you might be interested in this because let's see, where is it? So they don't really have it stand out, but anyway, they talk about the various award winners in various categories. 4 gold medalists were also enjoyed by the judges, and they name the type of tequila or mezcal. And some people think that tequila is something that you just do shots with, but it's not. It really is something that you can sip. And as long as you haven't had a traumatic event with inexpensive, or let's just say it, cheap tequila, you will not have a problem sipping tequila. So go and find some, you can talk online with people and see what a good sipping tequila is, and give it a chance, give it a shot, and get a small bottle. You don't have to go nuts. $25 for a small bottle, right? So get a high quality tequila, and it'll change your tune. I mean, it basically is a whiskey of sorts, and if you can sip a whiskey, then you can sip a tequila or mezcal. And I think I'm going to go and get something probably by this weekend. So maybe you can too. And then you can come and talk to me on Saturday or Sunday after we've had some not so run of the mill tequila, because sometimes you just want that run of the mill tequila. But this is like sipping level, right? Anyway, go and read it. I'm going to scroll back up. It's from the Spirits Business. Go check it out and then come back and talk to me. Tomatin debuts TR exclusive 16-year-old Scotch. So this is a 16-year-old Scotch, so it's going to be in the higher end, smoother flavored Scotch. And I'm going to click it. It seems like it's actually pretty reasonably priced at $100. It looks like for a 16-year-old Scotch. I might actually go and get this too. I don't drink a lot, but I like longer aged, typically sherry cask kind of flavors. But I'll have to get it and see. It says notes of traditional orange marmalade, sun-dried fruits, dark chocolate. What's really interesting about this is I have a very hard time distinguishing that level of fidelity, and maybe my palate just kind of sucks compared to others. But there are a lot of people that talk about their spirits in really flowery language, very elaborate and go deeper with every inhalation, and every single time they drink, they suss out another level of taste or smell. And that just doesn't, I'm looking for a good flavored, smooth spirit. And I don't get that much fidelity out of it. So it says here, in October last year, Tomatin lost a lawsuit against a local company's move to name a hotel development after its namesake Scottish village, which is interesting because I'd have to look to see. I don't want to get down this rabbit hole, but trademarks don't usually extend to this degree. You can name a hotel development something and still name an alcohol something because they're in two different sectors. But I don't know where this is actually taking place, and I don't want to just get into we'll go down the rabbit hole. But in the US at least, that's what I know. I don't know about the EU in depth, and I don't know about various localities overseas, but you can have the same, like I've been approached by people saying, hey, you have our domain as a trademark, our trademarked name as a domain. And I have to remind them of trademark law that, well, as long as I don't tread on your trademark, which is a niche element within trademark law, you can have different NIC codes. And so it doesn't matter as long as I don't, market in your sector, it doesn't matter. Obviously, when you become world famous, like Coke, it becomes a real issue if you try and name your shoes Coke. But anyway, let's not get too in the weeds about that. Happy to talk about it. And I'm kind of, spirit focused today because it's hump day, Wednesday, and I want to prep for the weekend. And so this next article, is again how Patron masters tequila perfection with 3 simple ingredients. And what I gathered from this is that they go into some great detail about Patron tequila. So click the link. This is over at VinePair, and they talk about, this is by Evan Rail, and the article goes into greater detail, obviously, about agave and the process of making tequila, but it's agave, water, and yeast. And if you've never seen it made, it's quite fascinating. You can do searches on YouTube and find out how tequila is made. Even Patron, I think that's one of the videos that I've watched about the making of tequila. And it all depends on the plant. It all depends on the water. It depends on how long it is cooked, how long it is distilled, how many times it's distilled. The process can be quite complex. It's simple at first blush. Like I showed you about the beer maker. Maybe I can show you it again today. Beer maker is BEERMKR.com. Beer maker. Simple concept, but you can get myriad flavors from it, and that's the same thing with tequila and any spirit, really, depending on how you put it together. There's some diversity there. Anyway, go over to VinePair and you'll be able to read the article about Patron in a deeper way and get some understanding about tequila. So obviously I have some tequila on my mind. This next article is in Of the Grape. It really should be either in Distillerist or somewhere else, not really of the grape, but it was aggregated into of the grape. And ocean aged whiskey is not just a gimmick. There have been a couple of whiskeys out there that are set to sea, and then they come back. And this one here, I'm going to click on the link. It kind of grabbed me by the title. It's over at VinePair as well. Susanna Skyver Barton is the author of this article. And let me see real quick. Which one is it that I always get? Yeah, Ocean. Yeah, it's Jefferson's Ocean, aged at sea. It's a bourbon, but I don't think that that's what this is. This is something new. So they can't label it Irish whiskey because the boat is not considered a bonded warehouse, a requirement for Ireland's whiskey geographical indication, GI. So this is O'Grady's. Let's see, where is it? Oh, it is. That's what it is. It's Jefferson's Ocean, aged at sea. That's pretty neat. I didn't even see it up there. Really? Does it say it somewhere? Doesn't even say it. I guess it's the same one. A lot of people think that that's a gimmick, and I have to say the reason why whiskey gets its flavor is because first off, the barrels are either scorched or not. Sometimes they're not torched. And if there's more or less char, you get either darker or not. And it's actually breathing. And so there is a thing called Devil's Cut. There's a thing called Angel's Cut. There's the whiskey itself and that remains in the barrel. And it's actually breathing. And so depending on the quality, the nature, what is in the air, it actually gets pulled into the whiskey itself. And so you get unique flavors from barrel to barrel, not just because of the char in the barrel itself, but because of the atmosphere that it is aging in. They also talk about this thing effectively acting like a washing machine because the boat is always agitated. It's always rolling. Oh, look, it even says it because it's constantly agitated. So it's not sitting there waiting for somebody to turn the barrel, which barrel rotation within warehouses, actually, it's a thing because it's hotter. A warehouse is hotter at the top than it is at the bottom, unless you spend a tremendous amount of money on air conditioning, which you don't really want to do anyway, right? Because it's going to lower your profit margin. So they rotate the barrels within the warehouse and within themselves. So they turn the barrels and they rotate them in the shelves. And over, weeks, months, years, certain flavors rise out of it, and then you taste it barrel by barrel. And sometimes the expert gets it right, or sometimes the expert gets it wrong, and you get a different flavor to your final product. So again, I might end up getting this because it has shown up in my field of view several times over the last couple of months. So maybe it's the universe telling me to go get some of this bourbon. Pretty neat. Cool. So go and check it out. And then go and pick up some Jefferson's Ocean aged at sea. Okay, this next article is Abbott warns of possible power outages as Texas braces for winter storm. This is kind of hyper local. If you are from somewhere around the world, a while back we had a storm in Texas, and it blew out a whole bunch of suppliers' power lines, and it basically, Texas froze over, and all hell broke loose. Lots of people blamed. A lot of people falsely blaming wind power for failing, except that when you build wind power and people tell you, well, you don't need the insulation, and then suddenly you need the insulation because the cold was never predicted, never anticipated, and people said it never happens. Well, yeah, wind power will work in the cold, but you have to have the generators configured the right way for it. That said, the problems in Texas were never because of wind power. That is a minuscule amount of power that was supplied from wind power in Texas, because it's usually coal. At any rate, so we're having more, not just us, not just the US, but the whole world is getting more and more chaotic weather systems. Like right now, it's like 50 degrees outside, but yesterday it was 9. So this change, this erratic weather, is, some say, because of humans impacting the world. I happen to agree with it, but at any rate, let's click this link and we'll take you over to The Hill. And it goes into greater detail, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but just know that there's talk and then there's do. And if you don't, between the last storm and this storm, if nothing was done, you're going to end up with the same freeze or outrageous heat, one way or the other. If you don't plan for this stuff and you don't learn your lessons from the previous event, you end up having to cope with it again and again. So lots of talk, but let's see action. Oops, 1 second. Let me get to where I need to be. This next article is in Mobile. It is an article over on vice.com. Real estate cryptocurrency takes people's money, then shuts down and vanishes. The crypto and real estate worlds have become increasingly intertwined as both sectors have grown dramatically in recent years. Crypto kings are real estate's newest whales, and real estate startups are figuring out ways to mint NFT mortgages and allow the newly rich to use their Bitcoin as collateral, bypassing a traditional down payment. Kind of a problem there. So this article is written by Maxwell. It might be Strachan. I may be pronouncing that incorrectly. So Maxwell, look me up and let me know if I'm incorrectly pronouncing that. But it's titled Real Estate Cryptocurrency Takes People's Money, Then Shuts Down and Vanishes. This is kind of one of the problems with this decoupled from reality environment that tech exists in. It says now a cryptocurrency that claimed to democratize real estate with the blockchain appears to have cashed in on the buzz by vanishing immediately after launching and dumping their tokens on investors, what's commonly known as a rug pull. Yeah, that can tend to happen if you have never met somebody and it's too good to be true. You can bet that you're going to get a rug pull. And you kind of have to be cynical online. Trust but verify is what I say and what I tell clients and people. You can't just look at it and think that it's a good deal without verifying the people behind it and the structure behind it. Trust but verify. And if you only get one person verifying the nature of this, whatever it might be, widget, you better go and find more, because something's not right. As spotted by independent blockchain researcher Zach XBT, let's see, by Tuesday morning, RealX's Twitter account, website, and Telegram channel were all gone. Okay, so according to blockchain records, it was the creator of the token contract that dumped 70 million RLX tokens at once for a profit of just under $24,000. Let's see. One Twitter user with 60,000 followers, altcoin Sarah, told Motherboard that RealX had approached her to ask if she would promote the launch. She was paid $350 for doing so, but was not involved in the scheme and felt deep regret about her decision. Well, that might pose as a legal problem because you still have agency. I wonder if someone might say something about it. So it goes into greater detail. I don't know the legality of it, but it's not just a rug pull. It is fraud. So hopefully somebody finds out who the people are. Again, it might be in the article, but I'll have to read it later. This next one is in Wanted. It's an article on Ars Technica. With new acquisition, Sonos signals more advanced Bluetooth audio products. So click the link. Sonos doesn't make headphones now, but they could be coming. Sonos speakers that I've had and listened to in previous generations. I haven't had anything from Sonos in a considerable amount of time. I've always liked Sonos. I wonder, let me see. Yeah, it's not the Focus Type Beam stuff. It's software for current and next generation Bluetooth LE audio and Bluetooth classic audio solutions. LE is low energy. It doesn't take so much away from the battery. And so depending on how it's implemented, it's actually great. But I've actually had some weird glitchy stuff with LE products, but not from Sonos. Usually it's kind of knockoff brands. So I guess I should discount it all together in my conversations and just not bring it up. But I did here, didn't I? Anyway. Oh, interesting. So they bought T2 Software. Oh, and shuttered the website. Interesting. Just kind of subsumed them all together into Sonos. So I guess some new products are going to be coming out of Sonos. Keep it in mind. Smart devices allow you to do these updates and can extend capabilities quite easily. So if you're in the market for a new audio product, maybe Sonos is right up your alley. This next article is in Stock Marketeers. It's sourced from MarketWatch. Again, there's just a little snippet on my site. I urge you to sign up at ohmTown and click the link. It'll take you over to MarketWatch. But then you can come back and talk to me on ohmTown and others. There isn't much conversation going on right now. Again, the site is only a month old, and I've never, publicly accessible, a month old. It largely was being reset while I worked on things over the years. But now it's priority and it is accessible to everybody. So go and check it out. But this article is written by Jeremy Owens. Starbucks to raise prices as inflation, labor issues hit earnings. It's really interesting. I had a conversation recently about this, that people are really kind of tired of having to go into places and not able to telework. That doesn't really work for many service jobs, particularly jobs like Starbucks, where you have to build a product for a customer immediately. But because of the pandemic, people aren't going to Starbucks, at least for the last 24 months, not so much. But drive-throughs and other things, if the store had them, which there are many Starbucks that are just walk-in, the drive-through is still operational, and there are a few local to me that are drive-through that you can just go and pick up a Starbucks. And I think that's where it's going to end up being. They're going to have to redesign their stores to be drive-through, and not necessarily focus on the foot traffic that they've been focusing on their entire existence. But if you were to go into Washington, D.C. and stand on any corner, there's probably going to be a Starbucks there on at least one corner. And I think it's been a long time since I've traveled heavily in DC, but in Washington, DC. Obviously, I'm in the United States, so bear with me. The number of Starbucks in DC at the time seemed high, but maybe I was just being hypervigilant about Starbucks. Anyway, Starbucks reported fiscal first quarter earnings of I'll round up, 816 million, or 69 cents a share, on a revenue of 8.05 billion, up from 6.75 billion a year ago, but shy of their fiscal fourth quarter's record total of 8.15 billion. So they're basically talking about something that really isn't negatively impacting them other than the foot traffic. So they're going to be increasing the prices, but they're still in record sales, according to this article. Maybe I missed something. I want you to go and read it and then come back and school me on it, please. This one popped up on my attention because I was looking at this stock. This is in Stock Marketeers. It's supposed to be a show that talks about the stock market and more focused on the business side of it, or a holistic understanding of the stock market and the stocks on it. But it says Gilead earnings slammed by legal settlement, stock falls. So it says Gilead Sciences Incorporated beat Wall Street expectations for revenue in the fourth quarter, but the drug maker's earnings were hit by $2 billion in unexpected costs, most of it due to legal settlement. Click the link, takes you to MarketWatch. This is by Jamie Lee. And pharmaceutical giants' fourth quarter sales easily top expectations, but profit hit by a $1.25 billion settlement, as well as $650 million in other costs. I had been looking at this stock. So let's see. Legal settlement with Vive Healthcare, a pharmaceutical company focused on HIV/AIDS treatments that is operated by GlaxoSmithKline. The two charges collectively subtracted 1.18 a share from Gilead's earnings. Yikes. So they fell more than 3% in after-hours trading following the release of the results after closing, with a 0.3% decline at 68.47. And this is the reason why I was looking at it. It raised its dividend by 2.8% to 73 cents per share. And that's quite high for a $70 well, a sub $70 stock. So if you're interested in residual earnings based on dividends that you can throw back into the stock, you just invest and it throws the money right back into that stock, and you leave it alone. Leave it alone. Unless you are day trading and you are just on the ball with your analysis, spread your risk across different tranches of stock, different strata of stock, if you prefer that term. And just wait, kind of like a watched pot never boils, that adage. Honestly, it does. But again, back to the time travel thing about temporology. The reason why a watched pot doesn't boil is because you become focused on it, and time seems to stretch out, and you become irritated by it not boiling. You become impatient. Time again slows down. But a watched pot will still boil. I know that I'm going too deep into the adage, but that's what we do here. We talk about various things. So again, in Stock Marketeers, this is by Market Watch. PayPal stock drops as eBay impacts weigh on earnings outlook. So PayPal Holdings Incorporated largely matched expectations for its holiday quarter, but delivered an earnings forecast that came up shy of expectations. Click the link, take a look. PayPal stock sinks after earnings as inflation, spending pressures weigh on outlook. So on the macro side of things, people are worried about inflation, and hence they're not spending as much, which is going to end up exacerbating the inflation problem, people taking money out of the system and such. Not to mention monetary manipulations by the Fed. Let's see. Oh, and if you don't know, PayPal broke off from eBay. eBay now charges directly to your bank account, and not through PayPal. I don't know how much, I don't recall much marketing coming from that, like to give notice about that, but this just got crushed, right? For the first half of the year, the company also predicts continued headwinds from eBay Incorporated, which has been migrating volume away from PayPal as part of its own payment evolution, which is interesting because PayPal and eBay were one for a long time. And so eBay was charging something, PayPal was charging something, and it was irritating me to no end because I felt like I was being double dipped. But now eBay is pulling away from PayPal, and I've been watching that happen because I would sometimes sell on eBay. I evaluate hardware sometimes, and then I sell it because it doesn't fit my particular use case. So this next article is Warcrafters. Shadow Warrior 3 confirmed for March 1 with a new voice for Lo Wang. I don't play this game. It's called Shadow Warrior. There's 1, 2, and now 3. This comes from PC Gamer and written by Andy Chalk. So Devolver is the publisher for this game. And they said that the voice changes are part of an effort to correct our mistake of not casting Asian actors. But I can tell you from watching other people play the game on Twitch that the audience really liked the old actor's voice. And I don't think for a moment anybody thought that they weren't an Asian actor or not. And in the channel that I was in, I won't drop names, but in the channel that I was watching the announcement of this, Shadow Warrior 3, people were really confused and concerned because the original, okay, pardon me. So there's been now 3 voice actors, as far as I understand it. The first actor passed away, I believe. The second actor seemed to really be engaging and charismatic and really living that part, and it was fun to listen to. But this new one, it was so audibly different, right? So divergent from Shadow Warrior 2 that people in the chat were concerned, like, oh my gosh, they're really not liking this voice actor. But they're all going to give it a chance. Everybody's going to give it a chance to see, because this little video doesn't amount to everything. That said, it's going to be released March 1st, and you should give it a shot. Either watch it on Twitch or buy it. Either way, go over to PC Gamer, read the rest of this article, and it's written by Andy Chalk. So this next article is about Dying Light, the word in tech. So I'm just going to throw it out there that today's word in tech is zombies. It's been around for a while, but at any rate, if you are into zombie games, Dying Light 2 is dropping. I guess I'm going to have to drop a name today, because at 7 o'clock, Carnage is going to be streaming for a couple of hours, I think, Dying Light 2. I think that's what he's got going on. In fact, let me go over there real quick. Yeah, so he's actually ramping up Dying Light 2. Oh, he's going to start playing the full game at 7 o'clock during his cozy stream, which is his nighttime stream, his late night stream. This is late night for him, I suppose. Anyway, I think the graphics for Dying Light 2 are great. I have not played Dying Light 2, but I think the graphics for Dying Light 2 is great. It's got a lot more parkour, a lot more verticality, and that's really, when the world gets bigger and taller and more immersive, that's really my jam. I love watching people really get into playing that kind of a game. But a Dying Light 2 or zombie games really aren't for me. Yeah, I don't know. Project Zomboid is about as zombie I want to get. Unless it's in VR, and then anything goes. I just love everything in VR. At any rate, go and check this article out. It's over at The Guardian, and they give a review. And unfortunately, the review is kind of weak. They don't really like it. They actually have the title Dying Light 2 Stay Human Review, as dead inside as the zombie hordes. Ouch. So the last thing that I heard, not from this article, but from just discussion, random discussion, is that Dying Light 2 has a kind of weak storyline. This next article is in the Daily News Show, which basically this is Biden to relaunch Cancer Moonshot Initiative to help cut death rate. Pardon me. This article is over on ABC News. It's written by Ben Gittleson. And the president lost his son Beau to cancer in 2015. I'm going to pause this video. But President Joe Biden on Wednesday relaunched the federal government's Cancer Moonshot Initiative with the goal of cutting the death rate from cancer in half over the next quarter century, which would be spectacular. And he's quoted as, "We can end cancer as we know it," which I find very difficult. Cancer is extremely personal to every single person has a slightly different cancer if they get cancer, and no two are identical. they have the same core component where it can be identified as this type of cancer. But to stop it without kind of the brute force mechanic of chemo and other therapies, and surgeries, that is where we are today. More cutting edge technology where we have the ability to do gene therapy, to go in maybe and affect cancer in a more holistic way that's less destructive to the entire being. That's upcoming, and I wholeheartedly agree, for a multitude of reasons. I'll just leave it there. But it's good to have societal commitment in trying to stop something that kills a lot of people each year and is just astronomically expensive, both on the development of treatment side and on the human costs. People lose everything being treated for cancer. Yeah, well, I'll just leave it there. If you want to talk about it more, we can talk about it more. But that's up to you if you are interested in this kind of stuff. He says it's bold, it's ambitious, but it's completely doable. Yeah, I don't know about the time frame though. We shall see. I think genetics aren't really embraced enough by a very vocal minority about treatments involving genetics. But anyway, let's continue on. It's already almost 7:00, so I may end up cutting this short. I have quite a few articles still, but we'll keep going. This next article is in Mobile. Process removes biofuel contaminants from wastewater and generates hydrogen to fuel its own operation. The holy grail of biofuel researchers is to develop self-sustaining processes that converts waste from sewage, food crops, algae, however you want to pronounce it, algae, and other renewable carbon sources into fuels while keeping waste carbon out of our atmosphere and water. So this is an article over on phys.org. Definitely you should go and check it out. I love the term bioreactor, and I just got Satisfactory because I was craving something that was in spirit endless. This would be great. If you have the ability to remove biofuel contaminants from wastewater and generate hydrogen to fuel its own operation, then it's a win-win, and it has less impact on the atmosphere, which a green process if it benefits the atmosphere, the ecosystem, and it's not detrimental in any way, it's a win. I would invest in this in a heartbeat. But it's something that we'll have to monitor. It's a patent pending flow cell bioreactor developed at Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. So let's keep on hustling through this. Yeah, I'm already an hour over. Techscape. Google is changing how it tracks us online, but who benefits? You have more to worry about from your ISP tracking everything that you ever do on the internet, because every time you type something into your browser, it goes through their DNS, unless you have your own DNS or you're using Google as your DNS. But let's click this link anyways. This is The Guardian. In this week's newsletter, a radical rethink of how the company uses cookies seems to, at first, to be a win for privacy advocates. Here's what you need to know. Yeah, there are no wins in privacy when you're using a publicly accessible DNS and everything is being tracked. You you can't you can't go anywhere or do anything without somebody tracking what you're doing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but Google powers its search engine based on all of this telemetry that it's gathering. Um, doesn't look good for me when I'm talking seemingly negative about it, but this is part of the process of consuming technology and understanding society's role in that consumption. Um, you are the product. So everywhere you go, there's beacons that are tracking you. Your browser is telling everybody who you are, what you're doing, how long you're there, and all kinds of things. Whenever you do a search, you're basically telling somebody, this is what I'm looking for. And while it's largely processed by bots, it's aggregated into information that has to be usable to human beings. So somewhere in the chain, everybody is finding out that you like My Little Pony Rainbow Adventure. That's just how it works. And somebody has to go, well, look at all of these searches from this IP address, or in the macro sense, all of these IP addresses for My Little Pony Rainbow Adventure. Then it gets converted into an actionable data point. It becomes information at that point, and then it gets leveraged to sell ads. So don't kid yourself. You're being tracked everywhere all the time. There's no way to get away from it. Trying to hide from it actually puts you into a subset of people who aren't being tracked, but you're not being tracked is being put into a category of being tracked. This next article is Puxatawny Phil predicts 6 more weeks of winter. I'll click the link, but I'm not going to spend much time on it. We know who Puxatawny is, and somebody decides that he sees his shadow, and boom, this is largely this really fun theater, really, that predicts that we're going to have longer winter. So at any rate, I believe it. I don't know how bad the winter will be, but I believe that there will be spells of really bad winter seasonal weather in regions. So in the daily news show, after passing point of no return in 2014, this is what I was talking about earlier, where it's going to have more erratic weather. Hot oceans are now the new normal, which is really bad. Oceans are our heat sink. They regulate the temperature of the earth. If the oceans are heating up because we are heating up the atmosphere, then that means that everything is heating up, and it will become pretty obvious as flora and fauna die off in greater numbers. We are going down a path, I think, and I'm not saying the sky is falling. I think we always have time to change the direction, but it's gonna take some work. The new normal. This is by Brett Wilkins. I suggest going over to commondreams.org and reading this article in its entirety. The study led by California's Monterey Bay Aquarium, entitled The Recent Normalization of Historical Marine Heat Extremes, was authored by Kasai R. Tanaka and Kyle S. Van Houten, and published in the journal PLOS Climate. So this is a sub-journal. The researchers analyzed marine temperatures over the past 150 years and found that in 2019, 57% of the global ocean surface recorded extreme heat, which was comparatively rare a century ago. Yes, I think it is a horrible thing. We need to change our direction. But I'm going to... Oh no. I'm going to say something just to remind people who might stumble across this VOD. Way back when, somebody hinted at global cooling. And now a lot of failing to think critically people are using that same article, that same researchers, bogus research to, in my opinion, it's bogus. You know, maybe somebody has fact checked it and it actually lives up to it, but I have never seen anything. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think anybody truly believed that there was global cooling. Maybe some people were talking about it, but now it's being used as, well, researchers, science doesn't know anything, so why listen to anything? Very frustrating. We know that the earth is heating up, and we know that it's because of human beings. So this next article, I'm going to get a move on here. This next article is Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, details the Graveborn and Spore Warden classes. If you've never seen Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, go and check it out. It's on Steam. I'll click the link. Go over to PC Gamer. This is written by Jody McGregor. This is a blast. It has a very interesting art style. It's kind of open worldish. There's no set classes in the grand scheme of things, like skill wise, from my understanding. It's on my watch list. I'm going to be getting this when it comes out. And it's co-op, so you can play it with others. It's not PvP, but you can go over to PC Gamer and read the rest of it. That mushroom has buttocks, and it's kind of like the Katy Perry mushrooms that were on SNL last weekend. Okay, let's see. How much more do I have? Way too much. Okay, I'm just going to have to call it quits right here. There's much more news over on ohmTown and around the world. ohmTown just aggregates that data into something that is usable for me and hopefully for you too. Feel free to stop by and check it out. And I want to thank you for watching the VOD or sitting in my chat. And again, feel free to ask questions, make comments, call me out if you want to engage. That would be great. And again, thank you very much. I will see you tomorrow.